It's an exciting day, isn't it? Yeah, Daddy's going to plant the tank at last. Yep. Today is the day where we plant my Aquascaper 1200. It's been a long time coming. Thanks so much to those that have watched all the previous videos leading up to this one. I'll create a separate playlist actually for this particular aquascape because there's been, I think this is the 4th video in this kind of series from where we stripped it down or thought about stripping it down to where we are right now. So I'll leave a link to that playlist up there. And then if you haven't seen the backstory, you can view it all in one go. If that's something you're into and you have an hour or so to spare. As discussed, we are going to plant this. I prepared all the plants yesterday and as promised, I'm going to plant it today, film it, edit it and publish it today. So very happy to be able to do that for you guys. We've got Trident fern, we've got a mixture of cryps, Anubias and Bucephalandra. I'm going to go through each species in turn, plant it, talk about each species, show you guys where we're going to plant it. The aquascape will evolve as the video goes on, obviously. So really excited about this one. I really hope you do enjoy it. Please watch it to the end. I've got a really important question, as I always do at the end of these videos. It would be great if you're not a subscriber, if you did hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, and then every time I upload a new video, you'll get automatically notified. And of course, if you do enjoy the video, please hit that thumbs up and share it as well. If you've got friends or colleagues or families that have never heard of aquascaping that you think might be interested, then why not share this video or another one of my videos that you think might interest them? That'd be really appreciated. This helps spread the love of aquascaping as far and wide as possible. So first plant we've got is Cryptocoryne parva, the smallest crypt available, I think. I might be wrong. Let me know in the comments if you know of any smaller. Always interested to know. We probably have, I want to say about 30 individual plantlets here. We could probably do with more if you wanted a full carpet. I'll see how it goes and then maybe I'll nip and go and buy some more later. But I'm going to plant all around right at the front of the aquascape in the foreground and also around the front here to the left and also around sort of the mid-ground here because the aquascape's viewed from here. I will show you at the end of the video what exactly the view I see as I'm looking at the scape from my seating position, so you can get an idea of why I've created this particular composition, the triangular / island style. So let's get planting. If you didn't know already, these were from my Aquascaper 600 that I've removed and prepared. They're all in good health and hopefully they'll adapt readily to the new environment. There is a risk that all crypts will kind of melt and then come back hopefully and grow new leaves which are adapted and healthy. This is always a risk. I'm willing to take that risk, and if it does melt, I'll share that journey with you and the recovery process as well. So I've actually got the cryps here floating on their tray on top of the tank. This makes it much easier to access. Just give it a bit of a spray so they don't dry out under that powerful lighting. Now it's a case of simply grabbing each plant with our tweezers, and then let's start in the middle. Just pop it in there. And then to get even coverage, let's put one all the way over to the right and then all the one. So for even coverage, let's put one all the way over to the right and then one all the way over to the left. And then we can simply plant in between, halfway in between each, and this is going to ensure the most even coverage possible. It's a top tip for you. So usually I would plant dry. I would install the soil, install the hardscape and then plant. But because of the process of keeping the hardscape wet, we didn't want the wood to dry out. And actually it's quite a refreshing change to plant into wet soil. You can guarantee the plant is going to stay rooted. What can happen is when you plant dry and then you eventually do fill up with water, the plants can float if they're not anchored sufficiently. But obviously if they're anchored now under water, you can guarantee sufficient anchorage. It's a great word, isn't it? Anchorage. So let's move over to the back well, not the back, the mid-ground right there, as we said earlier. And then just keep planting halfway in between each plant. So for those that don't know already, you probably do if you've watched any of my videos, I love cryps. They're slow growing, they're easy, they don't need a lot of light. Most will grow without CO2 injection. So they're perfect for beginners, and they're perfect for, you know, aquascapes with high energy. So if you have a lot of light, CO2 injection, high nutrients, high circulation, they'll just thrive even more. So such an adaptable plant, suitable for almost any situation, I would say. Let me know in the comments, guys, what's your favourite crypt? I really struggle with this one. I get asked the question quite a lot because it is one of my favourite plants. I think it depends on the situation I'm using it. You know, if I wanted to, you know, a nice tall background plant, then it would have to be bonsai. If I wanted a super low maintenance carpeting plant, then like we've got now, the parva. It would be interesting to know how long these will take to carpet. So this is a bit of a bigger, maybe not even parva, this one, it does look bigger, so I'm just going to put that sort of towards the rear. And we've got another one similar size here. Let's pop that one here. And I think one of the best things I love about crypts is that there's so many varieties. There's in the hobby today, you can quite easily find 20 or so different species suitable for, you know, background, foreground, mid-ground. You know, you can have really high impact crypts. There's even like a pink version. In fact, a little bit of a teaser for you. I have bought some pink panther crypts. These are supplied by ADA, and these will go in a new scape coming soon. So if you want to find out more, make sure you're subscribed and hit that bell. Haven't featured Nimrod for a while, have we? There's a little clue for you. You can see now the foreground is starting to fill up. When you do if you buy a new pot of crypts, it's worth taking your time to split it up into as many individual portions as you can. This is really going to give you best value for money. You'll get best coverage. So this is a good example. There's 2 plants there that I can separate. And I really love this process of planting. I find it very therapeutic. You almost go into like a mindfulness state. I've got some classical music playing in the background. You probably can't hear it because I have a microphone. There's another plant that we can split into 2. But I think, you know, part of aquascaping for me is the therapeutic value, not just in viewing the aquascape and relaxing, but the whole process of creation. And everything about aquascaping I absolutely love. It's, you know, right from the planning stage, the empty aquarium, which is for me the most exciting part because it's full of potential, and then through to the planning stage, which we kind of did a couple of videos ago with the hardscape, and now the planting stage, all the way through to watching the tank grow in, maintaining it appropriately. And if you can learn to enjoy the maintenance aspect, then I think that's probably one of the keys to success, because no aquascape can look good long term unless it's maintained appropriately. So watching it grow in, and then, you know, for me as a creator, a YouTuber and an author now, and a writer, etc., I just love to share it with you guys. I just, you know, I really believe aquascaping enriches people's lives in so many ways. You know, there's proof of this. You know, I've set up tanks now for homeless shelters. You know, I've given tanks away to people that couldn't necessarily afford them themselves, and the joy that they get from that that's just an amazing thing. And you know, without getting too deep, you know, I think we all have maybe a purpose in life, and I think it's a blessing to realise what your purpose is, and I'm pretty convinced that mine is aquascaping and sharing aquascaping with as many people as possible, which is why I've really embraced YouTube and really enjoying it, especially at the moment with the gradual evolution of the gallery. You know, I'm really determined to get every scape looking as good as possible, taking my time, just doing one scape at a time, sharing that whole process with you. Hopefully can educate and inspire you guys, and then in turn, if you become interested and skilled at aquascaping, you can maybe then share that with your community as well, whether that's family, friends, online, and then eventually this whole kind of network, this community of aquascapers builds to the point where hopefully the world can see many more aquascapes and many more people can benefit from them. Sounds like a romantic kind of notion, but I really believe in it, and I think it's really important to have a belief. And like I said at the beginning of this ramble, a sense of purpose. Got a feeling this is going to be another long video with all this rambling. It's actually really quite enjoyable planting into a wet tank. I very rarely do this. And it's not creating much mess at all. I'm quite surprised. The soil is a good quality soil, tropical aquarium soil. I will do a big water change afterwards. I haven't done a water change since we did install the hardscape and filled it up originally, so the soil will have leached some organics, I'm sure, and it's important that we dilute those with a large water change, otherwise it can trigger algae. Algae is really a common issue with a new setup as the tank is establishing its biological balance. That's why it's a really good idea to plant as heavily as possible, ideally with some fast growing plants. I haven't actually got any fast growing plants right now, but what I might do is go and buy some floating plants, which will help through the fast plant growth, but also through the shading that they provide. And cryps will grow quite nicely in shade. So I think floating plants are a very good idea for this setup. And then as the aquascape becomes more established, we can think about removing the floating plants if we wish. So that's something to consider further down the line. So I'm really actually quite happy with the way that the cryps are spreading out. They're filling up quite nicely, this foreground area. I'm just looking for the most open spaces, biggest sort of areas of openness, and filling it up appropriately. So the substrate is very thin at the front, but cryp parva doesn't necessarily need a huge root structure. And I like to have a thinner layer at the front. It gives a better sense of depth, more kind of viewing opportunity for the plants as well. If you imagine if we had the substrate up here, you're kind of limiting your space for planting. So I did trim the roots back. I normally just tug them, pull them off at around about a 1 centimetre or 2 centimetre length, and this just allows for easier planting, and also the action of splitting that root, breaking that root or cutting that root does encourage new root growth. So I'm very hopeful that these won't melt on me. And last one now, let's go here. Perfect. Okay, next on the agenda we have the beautiful Cryptocoryne albida brown. Don't have as many plants here, so we've probably got around 20. This is going to go behind the parva, going to act as a transitional plant. So the parva is the smallest, and we go up to our next size, albida brown. Also represents a lovely contrasting colour. It will get a little bit bigger, the leaves will get a little bit wider, and hopefully it will go more of a reddy brown colour. Under good light it tends to go towards the more red than brown. I will go and buy some more if we need it, but we'll put it in, see how it looks, and then make a decision after that. So as before, if we can split the plant up into more portions, we will, because we'll get better coverage. So it's useful to have nails. Fingernails, I mean. Grab it between your tweezers and then push it in. As I mentioned before, these were taken from the 600 Aquascape, which will be empty soon, which obviously means we can do a new scape in there. Now my first kind of instinct is to go iwagumi. I've not done an iwagumi in a while, so this is tempting. I think it would make a good video and also be good content for my aquascaping book. And then after that, I did think about maybe making a regular series of biotopes. So for those who don't know, a biotope is basically an aquarium that's based on a natural habitat. So I did actually do a series of these for PFK. It must be about 10 years ago now. And I really enjoyed it. I learnt loads about the fish and the habitats, and it was really good for me to do the research and find out more about where these fish come from and try to replicate an aquascape based on that. And actually there's more and more biotope enthusiasts out there now, and there's actually some very beautiful biotope based aquascapes, and there's even contests based on this as well, so something I might look into in a bit more depth. Let me know what you guys think. Would you be interested in seeing biotope aquascaping? And if so, what kind of biotopes would you like to see? I mean, the classics are, for me, like the Rio Zingu, from the Amazon. But ideally it would be, something that's suitable for a 60 centimetre layout or a 2-foot tank. Next plant we've got is Cryptocoryne undulatus red, and there's also a couple of other species in here which I'm not sure, maybe lutea, and I think there's a couple of parva as well that got mixed up with them. So we'll plant those in between some of the stones, perhaps behind the albida brown, and maybe some around here on the right, just to act as another transitional plant. So from left to right, we're starting with the smallest parva, then to the albida brown, and then moving up to the undulatus red, and then intermittently planting it along the length of the aquarium, just to act as like a natural kind of textural mix and a colour mix. Thing is, with aquascaping, a nature aquarium especially, you don't really want this uniform pattern, a uniform colour or texture. It doesn't look so natural. We're trying to create a nature aquarium style, which in my view should represent nature as much as possible. And like I said, we don't often see too much uniformity in nature. Next we've got Cryptocoryne willisii or lucans, not entirely sure which one it is. If you know, let me know in the comments. We've got more of this cryp than any other. We might not need to use it all, but I'll try to use as much as possible. This is going to form much of the mid-ground area, and especially this right-hand side here, because we've got the Myoia and the balance side to go sort of mid-ground, mid-back and back left. Also, we want to put some of this in the mid-ground, I would say, on the left. So, plenty of plants to spread over. Let's plant it right now. Okay, almost there with the cryps. I think this is Myoia. beautiful plant. This is going to go sort of mid background, and it is super curly, so it might be tricky to plant. Remember, it's been floating in the 600 for so long, well, for about 4 or 5 days, maybe longer actually, that the leaves have grown towards the light, making them, and because they've been floating on the surface, you've obviously curled over. I made a schoolboy error and my batteries ran out on my microphone, so I managed to do some planting without explaining what I'm doing, so I'll talk about it right now. I planted the Cryptocoryne balansae in the back left. No need for me to go into too much detail. It was just a submerged form in a pot, prepared the pot, popped it in the back left, and I've inserted some of the Anubias Petite and Pangolino in between the wooden rocks, as you can probably see there right now. I've got a load more Anubias and Bucephalandra to plant, which I'll just do again by wedging it in between pieces of wood and rock. I'll do a time lapse of Okay, we're almost there. We've planted most of the Anubias Petite and Pangolino. There is some left over. I could probably add some more, but I think it's important to leave some open spaces and areas on the hardscape. Also planted some Bucephalandra, not too much. We didn't actually have that much to use, and I wanted to use the Anubias more. Finally, we're going to add one of my favourite plants of all time, Trident fern, or Microsorium pteropus Trident. It is labelled as an easy plant, but in my experience, it needs CO2 and good light to really thrive and get the best out of it. If you don't give it CO2, it doesn't grow so well, doesn't look very lush. So if you do decide to try Trident fern, then do bear this in mind. So let's attach the Trident fern. No surprises where we're going to put it. About 1/3 of the way along to the left. It is a focal point plant, so it's important to consider this with the composition. And then finally, we're going to add our moss. We'll talk about that later. Okay, exciting times. We've almost completely planted. Just need to add the moss now. I was donated some lovely Christmas moss by Dave from Aquarium Garden, so need to attach that. To do that, I need to expose the hardscape where I want to attach it to the air. So I need to do a water change anyway. So I'll drain the water right down. We can attach our moss, probably using super glue, to the strategic areas, mainly probably on this wood around here, and we'll have a think about that later. So really happy with the progress so far, almost at the finishing point. Let's do a water change. So I've drained the water right down. We've exposed the hardscape, which makes gluing of the mini Christmas moss really easy. I'm using a gel type super glue, which is much better than the thin liquid type. It means you can, with the gel type, you can glue on a vertical surface and it won't run like a liquid type. And if you didn't know, super glue tends to turn a really bright white colour underwater. So the gel type is definitely the right option if you're into aquascaping, I would suggest. So let's glue the moss on. Really excited, we're really nearly done. I know it's been a really long video, but I've had such great fun doing this and I'm so excited to see how this is going to turn out. So I'll just show you how I glue a piece close up on this piece of wood here, and then we'll do a time lapse for the rest of it. So we just offer a tiny little dot on the surface of the wood. That's plenty there. And then we get our clump of moss simply push it on for a few seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And there we go. What's attached? Exciting, really exciting. Time to fill up. Just keep the plants wet, otherwise they'll dry out and potentially die. You probably don't want to wait 20 minutes for it to fill up, so let's do a time lapse. So there we have it, guys. The scape is fully planted. This, what you're seeing now, is the angle where I view it from the sofa, so you can get an idea of what I'm seeing when I'm chilling out in the gallery. I've had great fun doing this scape, all the way from debating whether we should strip it down to actually stripping it down and then coming up with a hardscape and then planting and recycling all the plants, etc. I really hope you've enjoyed the whole process. I've loved bringing it to you. Hopefully you've been inspired and educated along the way. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button if you have enjoyed it, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop me a comment. I've got an important question for you. Guess what it is? What fish should we put in here? Shall we put the Pangolinos and the Resboras back in here, and the Sidfa monkeys, the dwarf chain loaches, or should we go for something different? I do have someone lined up to rehome them, someone that I trust and I know will look after the fish if I do decide to get new fish. Part of me is really tempted to get new fish because I think some of them were eating the plants. There was loads of holes appearing in the crypts all of the time, no matter what nutrients I was dosing. I'm pretty sure it wasn't a nutrient issue. And there is reports that the Pangolinos do nibble on plants, and also even the dwarf chain loaches as well. So there's a few options. I'd definitely, if I did go for new fish, I'd definitely go for Southeast Asian, and I've got a few ideas, but very interested to know what you guys might think. In the next episode, we'll do a deep dive into the equipment, setting it all up. We'll talk about the CO2, we'll talk about filtration and the circulation, which is really important in a high energy planted tank. We'll upgrade the lighting to the Kessel 360Xs. We'll add an automatic doser. So we'll talk about all of these things. And if there's anything else you want me to discuss about equipment and technique and methodology, let me know in the comments as well, and we can cover that in the next episode. Just to conclude, I think it's a great example of what you can achieve using almost the same materials, but create something completely different. We've recycled 80–90% of the plants, 90% of the hardscape, yet the overall impression is completely different. So I just think it might be an important lesson for some of you that may not realise what you can do with, using the same materials, recycling. Okay, I'm definitely going to go now and stop rambling. You take care, keep on scaping. Cheerio.